Here are the Amish 37 vegetable gardening hacks you'll wish you knew before. Amish hotbed technique. Want to start planting earlier in the season? The Amish hotbed technique provides natural soil warmth, allowing vegetables to grow even in cold months. To create one, dig a 12 to 18-inch deep pit and fill it with fresh manure mixed with straw, pack it down, and cover it with 6 inches of good soil. The decomposing manure generates heat, keeping roots warm. Build a simple wooden frame around the bed and place a clear plastic or glass cover over the top for insulation. This setup mimics a greenhouse effect, allowing crops to thrive in chilly weather. With an early start secured, planting at the right time becomes the next key to success. Moon phase planting calendar. The Amish rely on moon cycles to determine the best times for planting, a method that has been used for centuries. The waxing moon, new to full, is ideal for above-ground crops like lettuce and tomatoes, while the waning moon, full to new, supports root crops like carrots and potatoes. To follow this method, track the moon's phases and match your planting schedule accordingly. The gravitational pull during a full moon increases soil moisture, boosting seed germination. This technique aligns with nature's rhythms, leading to stronger, healthier plants. But to maximize results, soil health must also be a priority, something the Amish achieve with their unique soil building method. 3-year soil building method. Healthy soil is the foundation of a productive garden, and the Amish use a 3-year system to improve fertility naturally. Year 1, plant a nitrogen-fixing cover crop like clover or vetch. Year 2, add compost and manure before growing heavy-feeding crops like corn and tomatoes. Year 3, rotate in root vegetables like carrots and onions, which help aerate the soil. This method prevents nutrient depletion and builds long-term fertility without synthetic fertilizers. By cycling crops and adding organic matter, soil becomes richer and more productive each year. And when winter arrives, extending the growing season takes careful planning with cold frames. Use cold frames. Cold frames act as mini greenhouses, allowing Amish gardeners to extend the growing season into fall and winter. To make one, build a wooden frame with a slanted glass or plastic cover that captures sunlight and traps warmth. Place it over delicate crops like lettuce, spinach, and herbs to protect them from frost. Open the frame slightly on warm days to prevent overheating and close it at night for insulation. The heat-retaining design helps plants survive even in chilly temperatures. Cold frames keep fresh greens available year-round, making winter gardening possible, but soil drainage and water control are just as crucial, something that Amish gardeners perfect through swale and berm construction. Swale and berm construction. The Amish use swales and berms to control water flow, prevent erosion, and improve soil hydration naturally. A swale is a shallow trench dug along a slope designed to capture and direct rainwater to plant roots. A berm is a raised mound next to the swale, which helps slow water runoff and prevent soil loss. To build one, dig a trench along the natural contour of the land and pile the soil on the lower side, shaping it into a berm. Over time, this system keeps water where it's needed most, reducing the need for irrigation. With a well-designed garden, crops thrive in harmony with the land. Employ manual weeding. The Amish prefer hand weeding over herbicides, ensuring healthier soil and plants. To do this effectively, weed early in the morning when the soil is moist, making it easier to pull weeds by the root. Use a weeding knife or hoe for stubborn plants, and remove weeds before they flower to prevent seed spread. To make weeding easier, loosen compacted soil with a broad fork before planting. This method keeps nutrients available for crops and prevents harmful chemicals from entering the food supply. A weed-free garden encourages stronger, more productive plants. But to reduce weed growth altogether, the Amish take an extra step by doing this next clever hack. Mulch pathways. Mulching pathways is a simple way to suppress weeds, retain moisture, and improve soil health. The Amish use materials like straw, wood chips, or shredded leaves to cover walking paths between garden rows. To do this, lay down a thick layer, which is about 3 to 4 inches, of mulch on well-trodden paths. This prevents weed seeds from germinating while keeping the soil beneath moist and cool. Over time, organic mulch breaks down, adding nutrients to the soil. This low-maintenance technique reduces watering needs and garden upkeep. And while mulch protects the ground, supporting climbing plants is just as important, leading to the Amish's clever twine trellis weaving. Natural twine trellis weaving. Instead of plastic or metal trellises, Amish gardeners use twine weaving to support climbing plants like peas, beans, and tomatoes. To create a natural trellis, place wooden stakes or branches every 3 to 4 feet along a row. Secure strong natural twine at one end, weaving it in a zigzag pattern between the stakes to create a net-like structure. As plants grow, gently train vines to attach to the twine for upward support. This method provides stability, air circulation, and better sun exposure, leading to higher yields and healthier plants. But plant health isn't just about structure. It also depends on water, which is why the Amish collect rain naturally. Install rain barrels. Rain barrels provide a free, sustainable water source for gardens. The Amish install large barrels under downspouts to collect and store rainwater for dry spells and droughts. To set one up, place a 55-gallon drum or wooden barrel on a raised stand near a gutter. Fit it with a spigot and screen filter to prevent debris and mosquitoes. Use collected rainwater for gentle irrigation by dipping a watering can or attaching a drip hose. Since rainwater lacks chemicals like chlorine and fluoride, plants absorb it more easily. A steady water supply ensures garden success, but to keep plants thriving year after year, this next hack is key. Practice crop rotation. Crop rotation is an essential Amish technique to prevent soil depletion, reduce pests, and improve yields. Instead of planting the same crop in the same spot every year, rotate plant families on a 3- or 4-year cycle. For example, follow leafy greens with root crops, then legumes, peas, beans to restore nitrogen, and finish with fruiting plants like tomatoes or squash. This method balances soil nutrients and prevents disease buildup. Keeping crops on a rotating schedule leads to healthier plants, fewer pests, and naturally fertile soil. And with a well-planned rotation, your garden continues to improve year after year. Rainwater barrel filtration system. The Amish have relied on rainwater collection for generations, using natural filtration to provide clean water for their homes and gardens. To create a simple filtration system, attach a fine mesh screen over the top of your rain barrel to block leaves and debris. For better filtration, run water through a layer of sand, gravel, and charcoal before use. This removes sediments and ensures the water stays fresh. A well-maintained rain barrel reduces reliance on municipal water while keeping plants hydrated with nutrient-rich rain. The Amish believe in working with nature, and this method lets every drop go further. But water alone won't create a thriving garden. Soil health is just as important. Compost regularly. The Amish maintain rich, fertile soil by composting everything from kitchen scraps to manure. To start, layer greens, fruit peels, vegetable scraps, and browns, straw, leaves, shredded paper. In a compost pile or bin, keep the mixture slightly damp and turn it every couple of weeks to speed up decomposition. Within months, organic matter breaks down into nutrient-rich compost, which the Amish spread over their garden beds to replenish the soil naturally. This method ensures that no nutrients are wasted and no artificial fertilizers are needed. Healthy soil means stronger plants, but how those plants are arranged also makes a big difference. Square foot intensive planting. Space efficiency is key in Amish vegetable gardens, where every inch of land is carefully planned. The square foot gardening method allows them to maximize harvests while minimizing waste. To do this, divide a raised bed into 1-foot squares, planting crops close together in a dense but strategic pattern. Carrots in rows, lettuce in a 4x4 grid, and tomatoes in a single square. This reduces weeds, conserves water, and increases yields per square foot. Companion planting adds another layer of productivity. By following this method, the Amish produce abundant harvests without unnecessary labor. And when ground space is limited, they take their crops to new heights. Literally, grow vertically. The Amish use natural trellises, wooden frames, and woven twine to encourage upward plant growth, saving space and improving air circulation. To grow vertically, install sturdy trellises, cages, or poles near climbing crops like pole beans, cucumbers, and peas. Strawberries and herbs flourish in hanging baskets, while tiered planters allow for layered planting. This prevents disease, makes harvesting easier, and allows more plants to thrive in small spaces. Vertical gardening is an age-old technique that the Amish use to increase productivity without expanding their land. But no matter how they grow their crops, one thing remains essential: using strong, reliable seeds year after year. Use heirloom seeds. The Amish value self-sufficiency, and heirloom seeds allow them to save and replant their crops season after season. Unlike hybrid varieties, heirloom seeds grow into plants that produce fertile seeds, ensuring a continuous cycle of natural, hardy crops. The Amish select seeds for flavor, resilience, and adaptability, keeping them stored in cool, dry places for future planting. By passing down heirloom seeds through generations, they preserve genetic diversity and time-tested vegetable varieties. These plants thrive in natural soil conditions, adapting to local climates and resisting pests without synthetic chemicals. A truly sustainable garden starts with the right seeds, just as the Amish have known for centuries. Use natural pest deterrence. The Amish avoid chemical pesticides, relying instead on natural methods to keep pests at bay. One effective technique is companion planting, where strong scented plants like marigolds, garlic, and basil are grown alongside vegetables to repel insects. They also use homemade sprays made from vinegar, soap, and essential oils to deter aphids and beetles. Another method is introducing beneficial insects like ladybugs and praying mantises, which feed on harmful garden pests. By working with nature instead of against it, Amish gardeners maintain a balanced ecosystem that supports plant health without toxins. Protecting crops naturally ensures better tasting, chemical-free vegetables. And speaking of working with nature, they also use a time-honored method that keeps soil fertile without disturbing its delicate structure. Practice no-till gardening. Instead of turning over the soil every season, the Amish practice no-till gardening, preserving soil structure and promoting healthier plant growth. To do this, they cover garden beds with organic mulch, compost, or cover crops, allowing beneficial microbes and earthworms to aerate the soil naturally. This method reduces erosion, retains moisture, and improves soil fertility over time. By avoiding heavy plowing, they prevent nutrient loss and maintain a thriving underground ecosystem. No-till gardening requires less labor while producing stronger, more resilient plants. It's a method rooted in sustainability and efficiency, ensuring long-term soil health. And when it comes to enriching the land, nothing beats an old-fashioned natural soil booster. Incorporate animal manure. Amish farmers know that the key to rich, fertile soil lies in natural amendments like animal manure. They use composted manure from cows, horses, chickens, and rabbits to add organic matter and nutrients back into the soil. To use it properly, they let manure age for several months before applying it to garden beds, preventing nitrogen overload. A well-aged manure mix improves soil structure, moisture retention, and microbial activity. It's an excellent alternative to synthetic fertilizers, supporting long-term soil health and plant growth. With proper composting, manure transforms into black gold for the garden. But for more targeted pest control, Amish gardeners also rely on an unexpected but effective solution. Use tobacco tea as a natural pesticide. To combat leaf-eating insects and garden pests, Amish farmers use an old remedy, tobacco tea. To make it, they soak 1 cup of dried tobacco leaves in 1 gallon of water for 24 hours, then strain the mixture into a spray bottle. Spraying it onto affected plants repels aphids, caterpillars, and beetles without harming the plants themselves. The natural nicotine in tobacco disrupts pests' nervous systems, forcing them to move elsewhere. It's a simple, effective way to keep crops safe without resorting to chemical pesticides. But while tobacco tea works for soft-bodied pests, the Amish have another solution for insects that crawl on the soil's surface: diatomaceous earth barriers. One of the Amish's best-kept secrets for controlling crawling insects is diatomaceous earth, a fine powder made from fossilized algae. They sprinkle a thin line around garden beds, plant bases, and entry points to create a natural barrier against slugs, ants, and beetles. The microscopic particles damage insect exoskeletons, causing dehydration, which deters pests without harming plants or soil health. For best results, they reapply D after rain to maintain effectiveness. Since it's completely non-toxic, it's safe to use around food crops and livestock. Keeping pests out while preserving beneficial insects is key to a balanced, thriving garden, and that's the Amish way. Implement companion planting. The Amish have long practiced companion planting, a method that naturally enhances plant growth while deterring pests. By pairing mutually beneficial plants, they improve soil health, reduce disease, and maximize harvests. For example, basil repels pests from tomatoes, marigolds deter nematodes from root crops, and beans restore nitrogen for corn and squash in the traditional Three Sisters method. Strong-smelling herbs like rosemary and thyme also keep cabbage worms away. Companion planting encourages stronger, healthier crops while minimizing the need for pesticides. When plants work together, the entire garden thrives in harmony. And speaking of natural solutions, another Amish technique takes soil health to the next level: deep mulching technique. Deep mulching is an Amish favorite for weed suppression, moisture retention, and soil enrichment. Instead of constantly weeding and watering, they apply a thick layer, around 6 to 12 inches, of straw, wood chips, or shredded leaves around plants. This method blocks sunlight from reaching weeds, keeps soil cool and moist, and gradually decomposes into nutrient-rich compost. Amish gardeners refresh mulch once or twice a season, reducing labor while improving soil structure. Deep mulching mimics nature's forest floor, allowing the garden to flourish without synthetic fertilizers. The result? Healthier plants with stronger root systems. But a productive garden is only as valuable as how well its harvest is stored, and for that the Amish turned to something from the old days: root cellar storage principles. Long before refrigeration, the Amish perfected root cellar storage to keep vegetables fresh for months. A cool, humid underground space maintains the perfect conditions for potatoes, carrots, beets, onions, and apples. To store crops properly, they separate humidity-loving vegetables, such as carrots and potatoes, from dry storage crops, like onions, garlic, and squash. Wooden crates filled with sand or sawdust help prevent shriveling, while proper ventilation keeps mold at bay. Root cellars maintain food throughout winter without electricity, ensuring a reliable food source year-round. Preserving crops naturally is a lost art, but the Amish know that a successful harvest doesn't end at picking. It extends all year long. And just as storage is essential, so is keeping the garden free of pests, sometimes with feathered help. Use guinea fowl for pest control. Instead of relying on pesticides, Amish farmers use guinea fowl to control garden pests. These birds roam freely, eating ticks, beetles, grasshoppers, and even small snakes without damaging crops. Unlike chickens, guineas are gentle on garden beds, foraging without scratching up plants. To introduce them, Amish farmers start with a small flock, providing shelter and feed until they adjust. Once released, the guineas patrol the garden daily, reducing insect populations naturally. Their low-maintenance pest control keeps plants safe while providing eggs and entertainment. Why use chemicals when nature provides its own hardworking garden protectors? And just as guineas manage pests efficiently, the Amish also use smart planting strategies to maximize space. Implement intercropping. Intercropping, a technique where two or more crops grow together, is a staple in Amish farming. It optimizes space, increases yield, and improves soil health. For example, they plant radishes with carrots. The fast-growing radishes loosen the soil, allowing carrots to thrive. Corn provides natural trellising for beans, while leafy greens grow in the shade of taller crops. This method reduces weeds, deters pests, and balances soil nutrients. Intercropping mimics natural ecosystems, creating a self-sustaining, productive garden. By blending crops strategically, Amish gardeners get more harvest from the same space with less work, a method as efficient as it is time-tested. Scatter hair around the garden. The Amish use a simple but effective method to deter deer, rabbits, and other pests, human or animal hair. After haircuts or brushing their livestock, they scatter hair clippings around the garden perimeter or near vulnerable crops. The scent of human or predator hair signals danger to wildlife, keeping them from nibbling on plants. For better coverage, they place hair in small mesh bags or sprinkle it directly onto the soil near leafy greens and root crops. Over time, the hair breaks down, adding nitrogen to the soil. A natural deterrent that also enriches the garden? It's a win-win. And while protecting crops is essential, so is keeping the soil fertile. Utilize cover crops. The Amish keep their soil healthy, aerated, and full of nutrients by planting cover crops in the off-season. Clover, rye, buckwheat, and vetch improve soil structure while preventing erosion and suppressing weeds. To use this method, they sow cover crop seeds at the end of the growing season and let them grow until a few weeks before spring planting. Then they cut them down and mix them into the soil, creating a natural compost. This technique replenishes nitrogen, boosts organic matter, and keeps soil loose and workable. Instead of leaving soil bare, cover crops ensure a strong foundation for future harvests. And when it comes to starting new plants, the Amish turn to an unexpected but effective method. Start seedlings in eggshells. Why throw away eggshells when they make the perfect biodegradable seed starters? Amish gardeners fill half shells with nutrient-rich soil, plant seeds inside, and keep them in a sunny windowsill or greenhouse. The calcium from the eggshell strengthens seedlings and prevents common plant diseases like blossom, end rot. Once the seedlings are ready, they crack the bottom slightly and plant the whole shell into the soil, where it continues to decompose and enrich the earth. This method reduces waste while naturally feeding plants from the very start. And just as seedlings need a good start, established crops benefit from a steady supply of natural fertilizers. Use natural fertilizers. Instead of synthetic fertilizers, the Amish enrich their soil with homemade organic options. They use composted manure, crushed eggshells, banana peels, and fish emulsion to supply essential nutrients. Wood ash adds potassium, while coffee grounds boost nitrogen levels. To apply, they mix these natural fertilizers into the soil before planting or as a side dressing during the growing season. These materials break down slowly, feeding crops over time without chemical buildup. The result? Stronger, healthier plants with higher yields. A garden is only as good as its soil, and natural amendments keep it thriving year after year. But to keep traditions alive, the Amish also focus on something just as valuable. Save seeds. Amish gardeners rely on seed-saving techniques to preserve heirloom varieties and maintain self-sufficiency. After harvesting, they select the best fruits and vegetables, scoop out the seeds, and dry them on a screen or paper towel. Once fully dried, seeds are stored in glass jars, paper envelopes, or cloth bags in a cool, dark place. By saving seeds, they ensure stronger, more adaptable crops each season. Over time, plants become naturally resistant to local pests and weather conditions. This practice not only reduces costs, but also keeps traditional plant varieties alive for future generations. A garden rooted in history is one that continues to grow stronger with each passing season. Apply organic mulch. The Amish rely on organic mulch to improve soil health, retain moisture, and suppress weeds without chemicals. They spread a thick layer, around 3 to 6 inches, of straw, wood chips, grass clippings, or shredded leaves around plants to protect the soil. This prevents water evaporation, keeps the ground cool in summer and warm in winter, and adds valuable nutrients as it decomposes. For best results, they refresh the mulch seasonally, ensuring a constant supply of organic matter. This natural method reduces watering needs and creates a healthier, self-sustaining garden. A well-mulched garden thrives with less effort, but keeping soil fertile isn't the only challenge. The right planting structure also plays a role, which is why the Amish often build raised beds. Build raised beds. Raised beds are a staple in Amish gardens, helping improve drainage, soil warmth, and plant spacing. To create one, they construct wooden, stone, or straw bale frames and fill them with rich compost and well-aerated soil. These beds warm up faster in spring, allowing for an earlier growing season and better root development. Raised beds also reduce soil compaction, making them easier to maintain and more productive over time. By keeping plants at an ideal height, they make gardening more efficient and accessible. With better soil control and fewer weeds, raised beds provide higher yields in less space. And for even more efficiency, the Amish use this clever method to maximize growth. Three Sisters Vertical Gardening. The Three Sisters method, corn, beans, and squash grown together, has been used for centuries and is still practiced by the Amish today. Corn serves as a natural trellis, allowing pole beans to climb while stabilizing the stalks. Beans fix nitrogen into the soil, enriching it for all three crops. Squash, planted at the base, spreads broad leaves that shade the soil, suppressing weeds and conserving moisture. To set up this system, they plant corn first, then beans a week later, followed by squash. This symbiotic planting method creates a self-sustaining ecosystem, reducing the need for fertilizers and extra watering. But even with perfect plant spacing, some crops need a little extra help to ensure a successful harvest. Hand pollinate. When natural pollinators like bees are scarce, the Amish hand pollinate crops to ensure fruit development. For squash, cucumbers, and melons, they use a small brush or cotton swab to transfer pollen from male flowers with a thin stem to female flowers with a small fruit at the base. For corn, they shake the stalks early in the morning to spread pollen onto neighboring plants. This method increases yields and prevents misshapen produce when bees and wind aren't enough. Hand pollination ensures a steady supply of homegrown fruits and vegetables, especially in smaller gardens. Plant in succession. The Amish maximize their harvest by planting in succession, ensuring a steady supply of fresh produce throughout the season. Instead of planting everything at once, they stagger crops by sowing small batches every 2 to 3 weeks. This technique works especially well for lettuce, carrots, beans, and radishes, allowing for multiple harvests instead of one large yield. As one crop is harvested, a new batch is already growing, keeping the garden productive from spring to fall. To make the most of their space, they also replace harvested early crops with later season vegetables like cabbage or beets. A well-timed planting schedule means less waste and a constant flow of fresh vegetables. But once plants are growing strong, proper pruning can ensure they develop even better. Blossom in pruning. For larger, healthier fruits, the Amish practice blossom in pruning, removing excess flowers from fruiting plants to direct energy toward fewer, stronger fruits. On tomatoes, squash, and melons, they pinch off extra blossoms or weak fruit clusters, allowing the plant to focus nutrients on fewer, higher quality fruits. This results in bigger, tastier, and more uniform produce. They also remove late-season blossoms that won't have time to mature before frost, ensuring the plant doesn't waste energy on fruit that won't ripen. This method improves plant productivity while reducing stress on the roots. Controlling plant energy leads to a healthier, more abundant harvest. And when it comes to protecting crops naturally, the Amish also rely on strategic planting techniques. Aromatic herb borders. Instead of using chemical repellents, the Amish plant aromatic herb borders around their gardens to deter pests naturally. Herbs like rosemary, thyme, basil, and lavender emit strong scents that confuse insects and keep them away from vegetables. These borders also attract beneficial pollinators, improving fruit and vegetable yields. To create a natural barrier, they plant herbs along garden edges or in between rows. Some even dry and scatter crushed herbs as a mulch layer for extra protection. Beyond pest control, these herb borders provide fresh seasoning for the kitchen and make gardens more fragrant and inviting. For more contents like this, click here to subscribe.